G'day everyone, and welcome back to a focused Browser Devlog. In this devlog, we will go over how I created a custom welcome screen for my browser, created my own custom branding, introduced a new tab page, and created my own Linux CI builds. So, let's get right into creating a custom welcome screen. This was probably the most challenging task for this time period, as to get it to work I had to reverse engineer Firefox to create a custom pop-up that appears only when the browser first launched. So, the way I've done this is I've introduced a custom HTML page that I can launch from inside of Browser Glue. For those of you who don't know what Browser Glue is, it's essentially a part of the browser that is responsible for launching all of the required scripts and commands for the entire browser. I simply added a few preference values, one of which will be changed once the pop-up is launched, and checked if those values were true or false. If those values were correct, then I would show the pop-up. Luckily for me, Mozilla already has a nice set of APIs that can be used to create your own custom pop-up. A dialog box really, but we can take advantage of it to create a custom pop-up for our welcome screen. So that's what I did. Then, because it's just a HTML page, I can write whatever HTML, CSS, and JavaScript is required to get everything set up. This includes a bunch of stuff that takes advantage of some Firefox modules to change the default add-ons enabled, the default search engine, the default theme, and similar stuff. So, now that this was done, I could try and introduce my own focus branding. So, we already went over how I created a custom focus UI in the last devlog. If you haven't watched that, click on the link in the top right hand corner to go watch it now, although the audio is a bit horrible, so you have been warned. So, this branding is rather than a custom theme, it's a set of images and icons that will be used by the browser. The hard part of this came in getting Melon to play nice with me, because Melon isn't exactly made to try and do this kind of stuff. So, I had to mod Melon to make a custom patch that includes the branding correctly. Essentially, it will grab a single logo.png and convert it to all of the necessary files that are required by Firefox to correctly set your icon. Then, it will take a few keys in the melon.json file and will apply them to a few CSS files required to change the color scheme of different parts of the browser. Finally, it will set up some fluent localization files, which change everywhere that Firefox is mentioned in the browser and changes it to Focus Browser or a similar name. That concludes branding, which is now correctly generated, and you can use in your own browser if you're following along at home. So, we can move over to the custom new tab page. Luckily for us, there is a set of well-documented APIs for creating new tab pages. These are called web extensions. We can simply add a web extension to the browser, which will change the default new tab page. This has some side effects. For example, it shows up as a web extension in the URL bar rather than as a default Firefox or Focus browser page. So, to get around this, we can hack the URL bar so it doesn't work properly when we're using our new tab page. This is not ideal, but it works, so we're going to stick with it. Finally, we set up Linux CI builds, which was an interesting time for the month. Firstly, most of these CI builds were copied from .browser's CI and were optimized and reduced in size to try and take advantage of more Melon features rather than simply just trying to do it all ourselves. So, let's step through the CI build. Firstly, it initializes a Git user, which is required by Match to correctly build Firefox. If you don't do this, you'll end up with some pain later and some really obscure errors. Then it installs a bunch of required system dependencies, then it cleans out a bunch of garbage to try and make up some space on the hard drive. Finally, we install SC-Cache so we could take advantage of caching to make our builds even faster. Then, we set up SC-Cache to save as a cache, and we set up Melon. Then, we download from the Firefox source and the web extensions that we've included, import our patches, bootstrap the environment, which we don't generally do on our own desktops, but just makes it so much easier on CI. And then we just build it. Finally, we package it, which I really need to rewrite because it just takes advantage of match packaging, but oh well. We copy out the artifacts and upload them as an alpha build. So, for any of you out there who are interested in experimenting with my browser and trying to find some bugs, you can go to GitHub and find some alpha builds available in the releases section. We don't have Windows or macOS builds because I still need to get macOS support fully figured out, and Windows support is a bit of a pain in the neck. So I'm going to be waiting until a friend of mine is free, and then we're going to go work through the pain together. That concludes it for today. If you want more regular updates, please join our Discord server. Please like and subscribe if you feel like doing that. And also, go star us on GitHub or download a release, either of the two. And I will see you all at some point in the future. I haven't got a regular release schedule yet.